Hello, everyone. Welcome to my show, going from thousands to millions. I'm excited. I'm always excited. I keep saying I'm excited because I am excited, right? I can't help myself because I'm happy to have people like Kosi on today. Mate, it's lovely to meet you. Thank you for coming on the show. I know you're based in Vancouver, Canada, and I know it's, what time is it over there today?
It's just after 5 p.m.
5 p.m. So thank you for coming on the show. I met you, I got introduced to you through a mutual friend that we've both met at some stage in our life. And they said, look, Coach has got a great story, get in touch with him. And we've never spoken before. This is the first time we speak besides the last few minutes. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. No, looking forward to it. It's funny how the world of the internet and social media work, because although you say you've never spoken, I've heard a lot of what you say, over the months, right? I can follow your page, and I think that's a cool part about the internet is you can get a real good feel for people and how they interact and what they're about. And I think that it's, there's a real good kind of general synergy in terms of your story, my story, and some, commonalities and some differences, but I think it's really cool.
Yes, you're spot on. I totally agree with you. So that said, I want to get to know you. I want the audience to get to know you, and I want to get to know your story. So take me back. I start from people's childhood because they say you are what you are today because of what you went through your childhood, and it's had a lot to do with it. So where were you born?
Absolutely.
How old are you? And just give me a bit of a background about yourself.
Okay, I was born in another part of Canada. I live in Vancouver, Canada today, but I was born in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, in 1981. 38 years old right now, and to get the true essence of who I am, which I think what you're after, you got to take one step before that, right? So, a few years before that, my mom immigrated to Canada from Jamaica, right? So she sewed clothing when she was in Jamaica. And when she immigrated from Jamaica to Canada, she came here as a nanny, almost on a lottery program. So they had submitted a lottery to come to Canada, and then they selected a few people to be nannies. She was a nanny for a wealthy family. So she came first. My dad came, pretty soon after. And she talks about, when she was first moved here and she was by herself, left everything behind to start a new opportunity for the family to grow in. She'd stand outside the window and just cry, right? She'd look outside her window and cry at night to herself, wondering, did I make the right decision, and all those things that happen when you're by yourself and you're young. And, fast forward, my dad was able to come out, but they always instilled in me the fact that growing up in Canada was an opportunity that not very many people have, and to get the most of it, right?
Yeah.
And my parents also rang in my brain that I could do anything I wanted to do. So those were the two things, right? You're given a great opportunity and you can do anything you want to do. And when I go to school, and I was in school, I did really shitty at school, like just point blank. I was not a very good student. Grade 3, up until grade 3, grade 4. And I really struggled with reading.
Yeah.
I used to really stumble on all my words. I've got dyslexia, and at the time it was undiagnosed, but even today, I really struggle reading, right? So if you put a book in front of me, and I love reading is the funny part, but I read it very, very slowly because it's hard for me to put the words together. So you can imagine as a child, when the teacher goes around the room and has everybody read a sentence, it's embarrassing, it's disheartening, it's all those things. It's frustrating, right? And I really didn't like that feeling, but it helped me, right? Because the teacher one day said, Kosi, and told the class that we've got to do a presentation. So I said to myself, there's no fucking way I'm coming in with notes and reading notes, because I'll sound like I'm an idiot up there. So that's not happening. And I was sick and tired of people laughing at me in the classroom. Yeah. So I just studied my speech. I wrote a 5-minute speech. And I studied that thing for hours. Like, and when I say hours, I mean like 50 hours on a 5-minute speech. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not like pumping numbers. I'm like, so you can imagine that if you spend 50 hours on a 5-minute speech as a child and you're able to put that level of commitment to it, that it's going to be better than people who spent 30 minutes on that speech, right? Yeah. So when I came out and did that speech, this is in the primary grades, when I came out and did that speech, it was awesome. Like, there's no way around it. It was awesome. I not only was like reading my speech, I was walking around, I had mannerisms. I nailed it, right?
Yeah.
And the whole class was like, wow, Kosi, you're such an amazing public speaker. We never knew you had all these talents and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, all types of stuff like that. I needed that to happen for me to become what I became later. I needed that to happen because I needed to see the link between hard work and results, right? And that event showed me that, look, I can, if I put enough effort into it, and effort's important, and I'm determined enough, and I'm persistent enough, that I can achieve things. And I had really shitty grades at the time. I think my average was under 40%. And I went from that to like, I started getting 50s to 60s to 70s. I was just, and by the time I graduated high school, I had 78.5%, which was 0.5% high enough to get into engineering.
Wow.
Right. So here's this kid who everyone thought had challenges. You know, they put me in all the special classes in grade 3, grade 4, that just like literally I outworked everybody in grade school up into high school. And I had high enough grades to make an engineer. Like, that story was probably my greatest accomplishment. And then that set the tone for my life, man. Like, my life was set. I said, it doesn't matter where I start at, I'm going to win, and I can do it. And it doesn't matter, I can do it. Because if you look at how I was as a student, literally the lowest mark in the class to never the highest, but one of the top grades in the class.
Yeah.
And then you hit engineering, and one of the first things they tell you when you get into the classroom is, 1/3 of you are going to fail the first year, 1/3 of you are going to fail the next year. And I was scared shitless that I was going to fail at engineering, and I was paying my tuition to get through. So I was really scared about it. And the same thing. I said, you know what? These kids might be naturally smart than me, but I know they go to sleep, and they'll sleep 10 hours a night or 8 hours a night. I don't need as much sleep as they do. And I know I can outwork them. Right. So I just made it a routine. I woke up early, and I went to class and I studied. That was it. I had very little social life. And again, it didn't work at the beginning, but when I graduated, I had high enough grades for the dean's honor roll. So that now you have a kid who's not only doing engineering, but he's killing it in engineering. Over 3.5 GPA, that's out of 4. Like, I was doing, in engineering, that's hard. So I went from one of the dumbest kids that I know to today people say I'm one of the smartest people they've ever met. And I did that, over a lot of years, but I did that by just working really hard and then learning how to learn. Like, in the process, I learned how to learn, right? And when you learn how to learn things, it just, in a way that works for you, because I studied so much that it just happens. So that was me in school. School was hard, but I worked hard.
I love that. I love that. It's funny, like, I hear so many stories, my story, everybody else's story. There's that, if I could take you back to being that child and, struggling with reading, and there was that pain that, you only feel that pain when you're going through that process, whatever that process is.
Mm-hmm.
When you're going through that, you feel a pain. And it's that pain that pushes you, that pushed you to go, you know what? I can do this. I'm going to go and invest 50 hours or so or more, and I'm going to dedicate myself to this speech to show people, including myself, because you come first, to show myself and others that I can do this. And you go and do that at that young age, and that shows you the whole process that, hey, number one, if I really want to do something, I can do it, but I got to work hard to make it happen. And then you get that feeling of reward. And I'm big on that. So imagine you at that age feeling that, you know, you felt that what it feels like to be accepted, what it feels like to be good, what it feels like to get rewarded for hard work, right? And then you took that formula and you put it into your later life in university, as you said, you know, and it's cool, man. Like, because it happens in all sorts of different ways. And I tell people, life plays you certain cards. You are born the way you are. You go through whatever you go. Sometimes is it right? No, it's not right. Should it have been done in a different way? Yes, whatever. But life's not perfect. You're not always dealt the right card. And you just got to work with what you have. And you can make a difference. And you did it at a very young age. That set the tone for the rest of your story.
You know, Sam, I think that's so important what you just said. There's so many people that don't realize, and this is important for people to hear, they don't realize that sometimes the worst situations that you're in can be the best fuel that you have in order to achieve, right? Like today, like you, I own, you know, I'm a company owner, right? We can have this conversation right now because we have people that run the organization, and then we can, it allows us to remove so we can do the stuff that we enjoy, which is this.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I look at a lot of the cards that I've been dealt, and I think about not being dealt them, I don't know if I would be where I am today if I was born, I'm going to say quote unquote average, right? If I was born into a family that had things, that was able to hand it to me, I don't know if I would do the things that I did to accomplish what I had to accomplish. And I'm not minimizing at all the struggle that people go through. The struggle is real and it hurts and it's painful. I don't minimize that at all. And but I think that if people knew what I knew, they'd be taking that struggle and they'd be saying, how can I use this as fuel? Because you can't change it. You can't change life. You can't change what happens. It is what it is. It's happened. There's nothing we can do to change that. But how can I use that as fuel to push myself forward? And that's always been my position. You know, I'm either winning or I'm learning. It's one or the other. I don't take L's. I'm either winning or I'm learning. And you take the learning experience, as bad as they have, and then you build on it. And I'll give you a really specific example, because I hate when people talk in like high levels and then they just move on, right? Yeah. I'll give you real world specific examples, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in my 20s, and I'm at a conference in the United States, and I was working as an engineer at the time. So I was working as an engineer at the time at a conference in the United States, and I get a phone call, and I get back to my hotel room. And when I get to the hotel room, the person at the front desk stops me right away and says, "Hey, you have a bunch of missed calls that people are trying to call the hotel to get a hold of you, right?
Yeah.
Like 5, call home, call home, call home, call home, call home."
Yeah.
And my cell phone, because I've been traveling, my cell phone was off. So I get up to my room and I'm thinking, gosh, nobody makes that many phone calls. And, you know, it was my parents, and my parents called me. I'll never forget the day. My parents called me and told me my brother passed away, right? As my older brother is 3 years older than me. And I remember just being broken. And I remember having to get back on a plane and fly back home. And I don't remember much of the flight except that I cried the drive there. I cried the whole flight. I went home and I cried. I went to the funeral, I cried. And at the end of that situation, I said to myself, I love my brother, and it would mean a lot to me to do something that could honor him. And I said to myself, I'm going to build a massive empire and use that to build a massive charity in his name. And that became my fuel and my motivation. And that's how you take negatives and you turn them into, as best as you can, fuel and energy to drive you. Because I'm going to tell you right now, when it's, you know, I'm tired and I'm long day and it's week and I've got that extra task that I have to do, and I think about that, I do it, because that's so much bigger than Kosi as a person, right? It's so much bigger. And I said, the worse the situation is, and everybody's story is different. And I'm telling you right now, people need to share their stories more, because I believe that if people knew more about what you're going through, they'd be way nicer to you.
So true.
Right. People are going through so much stuff day to day, whether it's at home, at work. There's so much that we don't see when we interact with people, and we don't know their history, we don't know their pain, we don't know what they've been through. And if we knew that, we'd have so much more understanding about how they are communicating to us. And I heard you. I pay attention to what you said. I heard you did a talk once. You talked about the need for empathy, right? And it's so true. Like I personally, you'd be hard pressed to find when I lose my temper. It just doesn't happen, right? And people come at me with all sorts of energy, right? Like, and the energy sometimes it's hot, it's heated. A lot of people that don't like me, and that's okay.
That's fine.
Now, but one thing is certain, is I always say to myself, I don't know what's happening in their life, because I don't. And what's happening in their life can be so much bigger than that comment that they just told me.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't take that comment as any sort of negative, any sort of way. And I just, reply to it with a level of compassion. Right? And that's been my whole mode of operation. And that has allowed me to, I believe, accomplish a lot more, right? There's two parts to it. There's knowledge that I've built up over a period of time. And I'm very I'm very knowledgeable because I study a lot and I don't do a lot of extracurricular activities. It's just, I'll be real, I don't have a ton of a life, right? So that's okay. I love what I'm doing, right? I'm dedicated. And then the other part of it is an understanding for human behavior. And the more you can understand human dynamics and human behavior, the better you become as an entrepreneur. And one of the key things to understanding human behavior is to understand everybody has pain.
100%, man.
Everybody has pain.
100%.
Right? And you may not know what that pain is. And some of the people that smile the most have some of the biggest pain, but they all have pain. And you need to understand that there's a lot of times there's something a lot more that a lot deeper than what it is that they're communicating to you.
100%. I totally agree with you, man. And that's why empathy is such an important thing. If we have empathy and we try and put ourselves in other people's position, a lot of the times, we change our views of people. And, exactly what you said. Everyone's got a story, but unfortunately, a lot of the times we get caught up in the rat race and we have so much going on that we don't stop and ask. We don't stop and get to know someone. Because if you actually get to know someone and get to know their story, I can guarantee you, a lot of the times our views of that person completely changes. But something that, like exactly what you said, it's about sharing our stories. And this is what I love, doing this with people like yourself and everybody else. This is not my show. This is our show. To have people come on and be creating this content and sharing this. Because a lot of the times people don't think that's how people are. They think, oh, everyone's life is perfect or this and that, but it's not. And by doing this, we show that to people. So tell me, you went to uni, finished your degree, and then what happened there next?
Yeah. And then I started working as an engineer, right? But I've always wanted to be in business. Ever since I started my first business when I was 10 years old, collecting pop bottles to make money for candy.
Yeah.
Right. I've always been a business guy. And to be honest, my dad told me to go into engineering. That's why I did it. So when I graduated, I'm doing this engineering job, but my mind was always focused on running my own business and doing my own business. So I was educating myself while working as an engineer.
Yep.
buying real estate. I started in real estate. I started buying real estate. Bought my first property when I was 22.
Yep.
And then by the time I turned 30, I had about 20 properties.
I love that.
And then, you know, I was able to use that to start to acquire companies, because as you go to purchase, they can use the net worth that you've built now in that realm. But as I was building out my career as an engineer, I was very specific about the type of job that I was taking.
Yep.
Because I wasn't taking jobs I think this is an important point. I wasn't taking jobs because of how much they were paying me.
Yeah.
I was taking jobs because of the positioning was putting me in.
Yeah.
So, you know, while I was working engineer, I was doing things like, you know, around scheduling and learning different skill sets, project management, learning those skill sets. And then I had an opportunity to work for a man who grew a company from nothing to over 300 people.
Yeah. Wow.
So I took that job, and I literally ended up being his number 2 person in the company. Right.
Yeah.
So we've got a company of over 300 people. We've got a 5-person management team, and I'm one of those managers, and I'm the youngest manager in that company by far. And I had my own division, and I reported to him. And that growth happened quite rapidly to the point where he's looking at me as a potential successor to him to run his organization. Yeah. And I would sit in his office. I come in every Saturday because I knew he was there on Saturdays.
Yeah.
And Saturdays, nobody else was there. So it'd be me and him, a few other people in the office. Majority of people aren't there. I would just sit in his office. I would just sit down in his office on Saturday, and I would just sit there. And the first few times it was probably awkward for him. But then eventually he just started talking to me, right? And I would learn so much on these Saturday sit-down sessions that I wasn't getting paid for, but I wasn't trying to get paid because I always had my vision of where I was trying to go. Yeah. And I said, you know, I can learn so much from this man. So it wasn't about how much I made while I was working there. It was about how much I learned. Like, I learned so much about how to grow a company, because I would ask him. I said, when you were at this stage, what did you do next? Then when you had, you know, this many people, how did you manage the office move? And then how did you do this? And how did this happen? And what happened where you went from 20 people to 50 people? Like, what was that? Was it a different type of client? Was it a different type of stuff? What were you doing? So I would ask all these really detailed, deep questions. Yeah. Because I was learning how you grow a company from someone who had done it. Yeah. I would sit in room meetings with him when he would go visit clients, and I would see how he sold deals, how he pitched deals. I would watch that. I would watch a master at work. Yeah. That, you couple all that together. Yeah. All that of what I did, the type of job that I took, and I was very specific about it. Yeah. And fuck how much money I was paid, because it doesn't matter. Yeah. You add that together, the end result is me. The end result is someone who now has well over 100 employees, on the process of doing another acquisition, which will take the organization, it'll be one of the largest acquisitions you've ever done. It'll take the organization to well over 200 people. That transaction will likely close in 3 or 4 months, right? Yeah. This is, and then you fast forward what I want to do in 10 years and how I'm trying to support my brother and all those initiatives, all that centered back to that experience that I had. Yeah. And me just being driven and pushing towards it. You really have to take control of your life and your learning. And I'm always get disheartened when I hear people say, you know what, I quit a job because of how much they were paying me. Right. And I'm like, it's interesting, right? Yeah. I can understand I quit a job because I wasn't putting me in the position that I needed to be to become who I wanted to become. I get that. Yeah. But if you take a job because of what you can learn, you don't take a job because of what you make. Because whether I made $20 an hour or $50 an hour, it was irrelevant. That was paid training that has made me a multi-millionaire today.
100%. I totally agree with you. Why do you think that happens? Is it because people are short-sighted? Is it because people want gratification right there and then? And something that's come up a few times. Is it because of the world that we live in today? You know, in the old school
I
days,
think,
your hands didn't move, you made no money, right? Simple as that. Your hands had to move, right? If
yeah,
you didn't, you start at the bottom, you work for 20, 30 years. You know, a great example is my father-in-law. He started as a storeman at a company called Hard Yakka, which is a very big company in Australia. They sold it to
yeah,
a public company, sold that for millions and millions of dollars. And he started as a storeman, worked his way to the CEO position over 25
wow.
years, right?
Mhm.
Um, but but those days now, like when I see the young generation, you know, it's about quick gratification. It's about how can I get something now? And you know, it's changed a lot. And
Yeah,
you know, they don't see the bigger picture. See, what you just explained was you saw the bigger picture. When I started
yeah,
working, I was getting paid $7.50 an hour, and I had my friends make fun of me, saying, "You're an idiot. You went to
yeah.
university, even though I dropped out, but they'd say, like, you're still an idiot. You're getting paid $7.50 an hour." They used to laugh at me because
Yeah.
um, they used to fill vending machines, or they
Mhm.
used to work in other places where they used to get paid $25 an hour, and they used to
Yeah,
laugh at me. But for me, it's exactly what you said. I thought about the bigger
yeah,
picture. I wanted to learn. I wanted to pick up a craft that there's no courses to learn telecommunications back then in real life.
yeah.
So the only way I could learn
Yeah,
was go out and do that and get paid the $7.50 an hour. You know, which
yeah,
exactly you said again. I wasn't paying them; they were paying me to learn and go through that journey.
exactly.
So why do you think it's not like that a lot of the times? Why do you think that mindset's different?
You know what? I think there's two pieces to it, right?
Yeah,
One is the need for centered around that need for personal gratification,
yeah,
um, instant gratification. Sorry,
yeah,
and the other one is I believe it is the role models that they see in front of them that they believe are achieving. Like when you look at a lot of people that are on, social media, Instagram, and that have massive pages and that have massive followings and are doing a lot of things, a lot of them don't know anything about business. And a
so,
lot of them, got a big following and have created a perception that they're achieving something that they're not actually achieving. Right? So you get these young people that look and say, hey, in 3 months I can show you how to, build an empire, and you'll never have to work again, and you can never do this again, and you can never do that again. Look at me, I'm traveling all over the world doing all sorts of cool, exciting stuff, and all I have is my laptop and my phone, and I'm achieving, 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 achieving. But they never peel back the onion to say, okay, what have you actually made? Show me receipts, right? Like, show me, what does your income statement look like? Show me receipts. What have you actually accomplished? What have you actually done? So you have a group of people, and it's a large group that puts out image of themselves that's not true. And you've got people that are believing it, and they believe when someone tells them, hey, I can do this, and 6 months from now my life can change. I tell people this. I know what I did. A multimillionaire, and it took a long time. It didn't happen overnight. It was a long time of learning, and then the money came like this. To be honest, the money, it shot up within a 5-year period. The net worth went crazy, and then it just went from there. But it was a lot of years of learning before I hit that inflection point, and it's having the right mentors before I hit that inflection point. And I know a lot of multimillionaires. I have a lot of friends now, because as you make more money, you get surrounded with other people. It just happens, right? So your network changes as you make more money. It is what it is.
yeah,
It happens, right? People connect you. We were connected because someone looked and said, hey, you're rich, you got a good talk, right? It just happens.
yeah,
Um, you're a company owner, talk.
yeah,
It just happens.
yeah.
So every single one that I've met that has made and sustained, keyword is sustained, made and sustained money, has done it over time,
100%.
right? Has done it over a long period of time. There's a lot of people I know that made it and lost it,
Yeah.
but the ones that made it and kept it sustained it, it was over a long period of time.
100%.
And there's a lot of things that we need to learn that you fundamentally have to learn if you're going to be successful and wealthy. And I'm not talking about for a year, for 10 years. I'm talking about for generations. If you're trying to create generational wealth, generational income, you need to educate yourself. Because if I say this a lot, if you look at the top 10 companies 100 years ago, some of them don't exist today.
Nah, look at Nokia. Like, you know, look at Nokia mobile phone, Ericsson, what they used to do with mobile phones. Where are they now?
Yeah, and if you look at even 10 years ago, the 10 biggest companies aren't the 10 biggest companies today. Human beings evolve and they change. The customer evolves and they change. Their needs change, their wants change. Everything about the customer will change. It continues to evolve. So even what you're doing today needs to evolve with your customer. You may be selling the same product, but it needs to evolve with your customer. You have to pay attention to your customer. It needs to evolve with your customer. Okay. So your wealth, to maintain your wealth, you need vehicles that help you maintain, so that if you get into a period where you're making this money and then the money dries up for a year, 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, that you still have wealth and that wealth continues to grow for you.
And we've seen that through what's happened, the corona virus, and what's happened in the last, you know.
Absolutely. There's a lot of businesses that have gone out of business today, and it's sad, and a lot of it has to do with poor fiscal management.
100%, man.
Right? Because as a business owner, we don't know what's going to happen. We have no idea. There's no crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. But what we do know is that downturns will happen. We don't know how they will form, but they will happen. And if you run a business on the anticipation that everything's always going to be rosy, you've got a problem. Similar, it's how you run your life. If you run your life where everything's going to be rosy, you've got a problem, right? Both of them have to manage of what happens if a downturn happens. And that is why you run into an issue. Like that's what happens. And if you want to be sustainable and you want to last over the decades, this is coming on the second major financial crisis that I've been through. And to be honest, I didn't know when it was going to happen, but I always knew there was one going to happen. So, you manage it, you got enough cash on hand to withstand, 6 months, a year, whatever it is, for your operation.
100%.
So that the operation makes it out on the back end.
100%.
And I know a lot of my competitors won't be around a year from now, and that's okay. We will be.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with you. So what are we doing now? Tell me about what do you do now?
Yeah, so I'm always actively looking for more companies to acquire. And I'm always looking for companies that have been around for 30 to 40 years, and have management teams in place, and kind of certain size, right? When it gets to about 50 to 60 employees above there, that's kind of when it gets into the range I like to play in. So I'm always looking to acquire additional companies, and very simple method. I want to acquire them, and I want to acquire for the purpose of helping them grow. I want to support them in growth over a period of time. I enjoy doing that, right? I enjoy building those types of plans with the operation. So that's the main part of what I do. I actually just finished a book. I just finished writing a book, and I'm probably releasing it on Friday. So that's another thing that I'm.
What's it called?
Finished. It's called "Fuck Broke, Let's Get Rich."
I like that. I like that. Fuck broke, let's get rich. I like that. What's the book about? Basically,
it's about a lot of pieces of my life and how I kind of what I feel is required to build wealth. What you need to do to build wealth is what the book is about. And I give examples for my life of stuff that I do. So just like I talked about earlier, I told you something, I said, okay, I'll give you a specific example of what had happened. I tell you something, I said, give you a specific example. It's like that. Like, I'm telling you, this is what you need to do. And then I'm giving you examples of how I've done it. And it's, to be honest, it's written in a way that, I know people look at me now and say, Kosi, you're incredibly intelligent. Like I get that a lot. Like, I'm not gassing myself up, but I wasn't always that way. Right. And people need to understand, I learned how to learn. I talk about that in the book. I talk about that process of learning how to learn. And again, like for me, like when I go back to then to today, like this is like a 30-year journey for me.
Yeah.
Right. I'm 38 now, and I've been at this for a while.
Yeah.
So when you are focused in a direction for that amount of time, good things happen.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying you need 30 years, right?
No.
But you need a good decade, and you can really, I think it's Bill Gates. People overestimate what they can accomplish in a year, but underestimate what they can accomplish in 10 years. And I'm telling you right now, if you learn the skills, you listen to podcasts like this, you learn from other people, and keep hearing them, you find yourself a mentor that you can kind of learn from and help grow with, like how I did. People say, how do you find a mentor? How did I do it? I had them hire me. Right? I went and sought them out, and I had them hire me.
Yeah.
And then once they did hire me, I said, I'm gonna work so hard for you that you're gonna teach me. On top of that, you're gonna teach me.
Yeah.
Right. So these are all things that I truly believe that there's a lot of people that can achieve wealth. It's not this crazy unattainable thing. You don't need to go out and find a job that pays you $150,000, $200,000 a year. You can start right where you're at with what you have right now. Start now. Right. If you make $20 a day, you need to figure out how to save some of that, right? And I understand people tell me that there's issues and I'll break it down. I broke it down in the book. I started similar to you. I was making $4.50 an hour. I still managed to save $100 a month.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, we need to separate our needs from our wants and be really critical about them and manage to the amount that we make, and set up a philosophy of saving early so that when you get the money, you keep it because you built it on a smaller growth foundation. And that's the cycle, because, for all the people that make it, you want to be part of that group that keeps it. And I'm very happy that I grew up in the environment that I grew up, because it taught me that.
100%.
Right?
100%. I totally get that. And I love that. So when you're releasing your book on Friday, where are you releasing the book? How do we get our hands on it?
I'm going to put something up on my Instagram page. It's The Property Owl. You follow me there. But I'll throw a link up there, and I'll have a website set up that I'll have a landing page and stuff. And I'll put a link probably in my bio on my Instagram page.
I'm excited.
It'll be on Amazon.
I'm excited.
For sure, it's going to be on Amazon. Yeah.
So I can get it from Amazon to someone. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
It's nice. I love people that write books, because what you're doing is you're sharing your knowledge with others. You're sharing all your experience and knowledge in the hope that somebody picks up that book and reads it, and it kind of hits with them. And they're like, wow, I get this. I get this. I'm going through this. I get this. This makes sense to me. And if you can change one person's life based on that, wow, man, you've done a great job. You've done your job.
Exactly.
And that's what it's about. So that's it, mate. Like, where do we have our people that listen to this podcast? Where can they find you? Actually, before that, you did mention that. But before that, I have a question. I have one question to ask everybody.
Yeah.
If you were to give advice to that young person right now that is struggling, they don't know what they want to do, they're going through tough times, and they're just confused, they're lost. I've been there before. I'm sure you've been there before. What would your advice be? What would your advice be to that upcoming entrepreneur that is struggling and they don't know what they want to do and they just need help? What would you say to them?
I would give them two things to do, right?
Yeah.
The very first thing that I want them to do is listen to something motivational every day.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Listen to something motivational every day, whether it's in the morning, it's at night. Make sure, because you will have so much negative noise around you, that you need to combat that with something. You need to combat that with as much, like, you got to overflood yourself positivity, whether it's, podcasts like this and kind
Yeah.
of going through them, listening to the various stories, listening to the stories of accomplishment. So that's the motivation piece.
Yeah.
And then the other piece that I would say to you is, when it comes to wealth, they need to understand this. When it comes to wealth, your knowledge goes like this,
Yeah.
right? And you can look at anybody's wealth curve, Warren Buffett, I don't care. Your knowledge goes like this.
Yeah.
Your income goes like this. It takes off, right? So it's not one-to-one.
Yeah. So
And
true.
just understand that although you are struggling today, maybe that's the fuel that you need so that when you get into the business situation, you're equipped to handle it, right? So don't look at the struggles as, oh my gosh, this has broken me. Look at the struggles as a necessary thing, as bad as it is, to help you to accomplish something else. You need to change your mindset on how you view your life. If you don't change your mindset on how you view your life will never change.
I love that. I resonate with what you said. I totally agree with it. And I love that. You are spot on. You're spot on the money. 100% right about the motivation. 100% right about the struggles that you're going through today that shapes you and makes you become the person that you are tomorrow. And, without those struggles, you wouldn't be where you are today. Without those struggles, you wouldn't know how to handle setbacks when you do grow your business and become, a company owner. And without that stuff, you won't be the person that you are. I love that, man. That is so well said, on the money. That said, where can everybody find you again? On Instagram? Because I know you have a great following.
Yeah.
And,
Best ways.
active on it.
Yeah, the best ways to find me is on Instagram. My handle is The Property Owl. And that's the best place to spot me. If you shoot me a message, I will reply. Sometimes it's a day late, but I do reply.
Man, this has been a great chat. I've really, really enjoyed it. And I want to thank you for sharing, and again, for being honest and open and sharing and taking us on your journey from your childhood, because that's very personal. And I've been blessed enough that everyone I've had on has had no issues with doing that. And that means a lot to me. It resonates with a lot of people that are going to be listening to this podcast. So that said, thank you again. Thanks for making the time. And I'm looking forward to catching on with you in person. Once the borders open up, having you come here, or me coming up to Canada. I can't wait, man. Thank you very much. And God bless you.
Thank you.